Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday night, and it's another night of story time with Shady. We're just gonna get to the point. We're just gonna hop to it. So tonight's story is called "Who Do We Appreciate?" Part one of part two. Here we go. Fair. It's a word I truly know. It's a word I understand inside and out. Fairness is the reason why I get the job. It's the reason why they picked me. Who are they? Well, I'll let you figure that out for yourself. It starts on a Saturday morning. My mother figures out a way to unlock my door, as she always does, and manages to get in, pushing away the various obstacles I put in front of the door to keep her out. The obstacles are there because every Saturday morning I hold out a thread of hope that maybe this time she'll give up and let me sleep. Unfortunately, my mother, like me, is not the surrendering type. Danielle, there was a call on the machine. They need you for an early game today. I groan and put a pillow over my head. I'm sick. Takes the pillow away. No, you're not. I've got the flu. No, you don't. But what if I do? She sighs. If you're really sick, I won't make you go. She pauses to make it clear she wants the truth. I hate the truth pause. Are you sick or aren't you? It annoys me that I can't lie to her when she gives me the truth pause. I'm just not the lying type, as much as I'd like to be sometimes. Instead of answering her, I sit up in bed. So how early is the game? 7 o'clock. What? I didn't even know there were league games at 7. Apparently there are. And they need a referee. They need you. I thought I was going to get out of this week. There were no calls last night, no calls this morning, and yet, sure enough, there's a message on the machine. Like it just magically appeared. This should be my first hint that something's a little bit off, but I'm still not awake enough to catch it. It was just last month that I got certified as a junior soccer referee. It's not entirely my fault. Frankly, I blame my little brother, Cody, 6 weeks ago. He joined up to play in the 7 and under Pee Wee League. I don't know what possessed him to do it. Oh. Oh, guys. Lost my spot, so hold on. And I don't know what possessed me to volunteer. I'm not the volunteering type, but I just happened to be there when the coach asked for refs, and I saw my hand go up. Totally bizarre. Then 2 weeks later, my brother quits the team, and I'm stuck. Now they call me every week, like clockwork. to rough other kids' games, and my parents won't let me quit. You have to learn to follow through on your commitments, they tell me. Yeah, what about Cody? He's only 7. As if that's an excuse. He quit the team, but do they care that I'm stuck reffing? No, double standards run rampant in my family, especially when it comes to Cody. See, Cody was a preemie. He was so close to dying when he was born, I think it left my parents in some sort of permanent post-traumatic shock, and they still treat him like he can keel over at any minute. They were terrified when he asked to play soccer. It freaked me out too because Cody's about the most non-athletic wimp in the great history of non-athletic wimps. Even during his 2 weeks on the soccer team, he would run away whenever the ball came within 10 feet of him. It was no great surprise that he quit, and so as his personal purgatory, I demand under threat of death or worse that he come with me to every single game I'm forced to ref. I should mention here that in a way, refereeing has always kind of been in my nature, but until now it was never official. But anytime there's a problem at school between two kids, I always seem to be the one who steps between them to resolve it. Whenever I'm working on some group project and no one can make a decision, I'm the one who can, and the others always seem to accept it. You're a natural referee, my parents had told me when I signed up to do this. You were born for it. I had laughed at the same time. I quickly showered, dressed in my ref uniform, then go into Cody's room and roused him out of bed. I do this by grabbing his mattress and flipping it, with him still on it. I've gotten very good at it. Sometimes I can launch him halfway across the room. Danielle! He whines. Shut up and get dressed. I've got a game to ref. He complains like the world is coming to an end, but he gets his clothes on. He knows he can't worm his way out of it. Can't worm his way out of it. Sorry guys, my lighting's horrible. Okay, here we go. We leave on our bikes for Arroyo. I've always had a hard time saying that part. Arroyo Vista Park, where today's game will be played. I'm feeling a bit less cranky now. I'm actually beginning to look forward to it. I don't mind reffing, really. There's a certain satisfaction to being the ultimate authority and knowing that you can handle the responsibility. I'm good at it. I'm decisive and observant. I make the right calls and people respect this, even when the call is against them. As for the kids, I don't mind them. They're not a problem. They're just playing the game. It's the parents who sometimes get nuts. They think that because I'm 14, they can intimidate me into making calls favoring their team. Well, I don't intimidate easily. Today, however, when I arrive at the field, there are no parents on the sideline. Not a one. I check my watch, 6:50. Both teams are already here, participating on their respective half of the field. But their parents aren't watching. That's weird, says Cody. Not really, I tell him. A game this early, The parents all probably dropped their kids off and went back to bed. I don't blame them. I'd do the same if I could. And I throw him an accusing gaze to remind him whose fault it is that we're here at this unholy hour of the morning. I stride out onto the field to check it for safety issues, soak spots, sprinkler heads, and dangerous divots. The field is okay, except for the fact that toward the one goal, the grass is turning yellow. True, it's the fall, but around here, grass stays green year round. Next, I introduce myself to the coaches. I recognize one of them. His name is Mr. Apfelt. He was my second grade teacher. I haven't seen him for years. He's a pretty well liked teacher, never too hard on kids. Everyone always said the hardest thing about him was spelling his last name. I hear they even named the new elementary school gym after him. Hi, Mr. A, I say. Danielle Walker, he says, with a grin, recognizing me immediately. Look at you. I get right to business, not caring to hear all the small talk about how I've grown and blossomed into a young woman and all that garbage. I call over the other coach. He's a guy with an impressive beer belly, if such a thing can be called impressive. He has a towel around his neck that he uses to blot his forehead. He's sweating even though the morning is chilly. I put up the official scorecard. I'll need to know your team's names, I say. The two men look at each other. Our team doesn't exactly have a name, says Mr. A. Neither does ours, says the other coach. This isn't unusual. Typically, the coaches have the kids pick their own team name, and sometimes it takes a while to get everyone to agree. True, it's a bit late in the season to still be undecided on team names, but hey, that's not my problem. I look at the two teams. Sweaty Coach's team has red uniforms, and Mr. Apfelt's team is in blue. All right then, I tell them, and scribble on my scorecard. The Reds and the Blues. Fair enough, says Mr. A. Fair is my middle name, I say. Actually, it's Claire, but that's close enough. I notice that there's something funny about Mr. A, something about the expression on his face. He's preoccupied. It's like the look my dad gets when some deal at work isn't about to go when some deal is about to go bad. It's the look my mom gets when Cody starts to cough. Come to think of it, the other coach has a similar look about him. I shrug it off. Adults' minds are always stuck in places where kids probably don't want to know about. Who's the home team? I ask. Usually the home team gets to call the coin toss. Neither, says Mr. A. Now I'm getting annoyed. You mean this is neither team's home field? Neither one of you played here on other weeks? Actually, says Mr. A, this is the first game for both teams. Great. I get stuck with late entries to the league. You don't even know who's supposed to be the home team. I expected better from Mr. A. I hadn't taken a good look at the playlist until now. Right away, I can sense there's something strange about them. There's something about their expressions that doesn't sit right with me. See, 7-year-olds, they tend to have this vague, unfocused look about them. They're easily distracted and always involved in mildly annoying activities, like kicking up dirt clods with their cleats, or running in circles when they're supposed to be standing still. These kids aren't doing those things. They're all focused on me, waiting for the game to start. There's this intensity to them that I can almost feel. It makes me uncomfortable. I look to the sidelines, still no parents. No one's there but Cody, who is, like I said, kicking up dirt clods like a normal 7-year-old. What about the assistant refs? I asked the coaches. I usually ask parents to act as linesmen. We're fresh out of parents today, Mr. Apfel says, offering me an apologetic smile. You're on your own. Now I finally begin to put things together. Late entries to the league, kids without parents. I bring my voice down so the kids on the field can't hear me. Are these kids from like an orphanage or something? Something like that, Mr. A. Just do your best. I'm sure you'll do fine without linesmen. I nod to both coaches in understanding. Then Mr. A says to me quietly, a word to the wise, make this the best roughing job you've ever done. There's that slim, preoccupied grin again from him. I tell him that sure, I will, and that's always and that I always rough my best, which is true. Then I hurry to the other side of the field to grab my stopwatch from Cody. So, do you know any of the kids on these teams? I asked him. No. Not in any classes with them? No. Don't recognize them from Cub Scouts or something? No. But I hope you are. Can I go home now? Now it was my turn to say no. I turn to go back to the midfield line for the coin toss, but before I do, Cody stops me. Danielle, he says, be careful, okay? Such a weird thing for him to say. I have to laugh. Of what? I don't know. Just... He struggles trying to put whatever he's feeling into words, then lets his shoulders sag. Nothing, forget it. Nutcase, I tell him, and hurry out to the center circle, checking to make sure all the players' shin guards are on and shoes are tied. Then I call to the team captains for the coin toss. The red captain is the scrawny, toe-headed kid, with hair so fine and blonde it's like peach fuzz on his head. His eyes are blue, but a weird shade, like glacier ice. Ew, deathly. It's unsettling, so I don't look in his eyes again. He also smells funny, like maybe he had a hard-boiled egg for breakfast, and it got smeared all over his face. The blue team captain has curly brown hair, a little too long in the back, so it falls over his neck in a goofy little mullet. I like his eyes better. They're light brown. Sure, they're as intense as the other kids' eyes, but somehow softer. I like him in spite of the mullet. I pull my special $50 out of my pocket and flip it. Call it, I say, forgetting that I didn't say specifically who should call it. Both the red captain and blue captain call heads. I try to catch the coin in mid-air, so the toss gets voided before it can become an issue. But I miss, and the coin hits the turf. It shows heads. I win the toss, announces the red captain. No, I win it, says the blue. I called heads. So did I. Well, I said it first. Did not. Did too. Well, at least they're finally starting to act like 7-year-olds. I glance over at the coaches, waiting for this, waiting on the sidelines for the game to begin. Morgie, Mamas, wake up. Since I like Mr. A better than the other guy, I make the decision. Blue calls it. Why? Demands the red captain. Because I said so. You can do things like that when you're a ref. It's almost like being a parent. No fair. Then his coach yells from the sidelines. A lost Alistair. Just get it over with, okay? I smirk. Fancy name for an obnoxious kid. He scowls at his coach, then turns to me, crossing his arms. Fine. I flip the coin. Blue captain calls heads again. It comes up tails. Ha! Says the red captain. Watch it, Alice. I call penalties for bad sportsmanship. That's Alistair, he snaps. I can't wait until I call his first penalty. From the moment the game begins, I know this is no ordinary game. First of all, these kids don't play like 7-year-olds. Usually the 7 and under games are all about beehive ball. A whole mess of kids buzzing around with the ball in the middle, and the kids gently kicking one another more often than getting a foot on the ball. These kids are different. They play like pros. I've never seen anything like it. They have awesome kicks. They head the ball with full force, and they don't fall down crying. They put such power behind the ball, and I have to hit it around a few times to keep from having my head taken off. I'm actually getting winded running my diagonal across the field, which never happens in these games. As they play, I begin to notice a definite difference in style between the two teams. The red team is good. This is to say, each player is phenomenal. But each player is also a ball hog. There's no passing. Everyone wants to be a star, and they fight one another for the ball. More than once, I call a penalty on red players for pushing, and usually it's their own teammates who they push. As for the Blues, they're not quite as skilled as the Reds individually. None of them are standout players, but they make up for it with expert teamwork. It's a great treat to watch the way they pass and dribble, moving the ball downfield. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. The problem is, no matter how good their teamwork, there's always some red ball hog who steals it away and brings it back toward the blue goal. As I watch them play, I find myself doing something that a ref is never supposed to do. I find myself rooting for the team of the other over the other. Danielle, I want to go home. So go, I tell Cody. But for once I want him to stay. Not to punish him, but because I've started to feel so alone out there on the field. Having him there gives me a little bit of comfort. Of course, I won't tell him that. It's the end of the first quarter. There's no score, but there will be soon. The red team seems to keep getting angrier, and the angrier they get, the better they play. It's only a matter of time before they start scoring. I want you to go too, he says. I want us both to go. Tell them you can't stay. Call off the game. Let's just go. You know I can't do that. Then he gets quiet. There's something wrong with them. Can't you feel it? I don't feel a thing. I tell him, but that's a lie. The feeling is as heavy as the clouds that have begun gathering in the sky. It was a clear day when the game began. But now there are huge cumulus clouds hanging overhead, looking as heavy as anvils. Let's just get through this, I tell him. It's just one game. Look at the grass, he says. Huh? Just look at it, and then tell me you don't want to get out of here. I look at him like he's crazy, an expression that I've got pretty well mastered when it comes to Cody. Then I blow the whistle and call the teams back for the second quarter. As I jog onto the field, I can't help but notice the grass, because now the thought of it is stuck in my head, thanks to Cody. I wish I hadn't looked, because now I can see that all the yellow patches of the field are in the shape of small 7-year-old footprints. 6 minutes into the second quarter, a red player with hair almost as red as his shirt trips a blue player and sends him flying 5 feet. At that exact moment, Alistair kicks the ball into the goal. The Reds start cheering. Technically, I saw the trip and the goal at the same time. Arguably, the goal could count. It's completely in my decision whether or not to call it back. And if for any other game, I'd warn the tripper, I'd give the team their goal. But this isn't any other game. I blow my whistle. Tripping, I call. No goal. All the Reds instantly cry out in disbelief, throwing their hands up into the air and looking at me with their terrible eyes. Up above, I hear distant thunder volleying in the clouds. On the sidelines, I can see Cody shaking his head at me, silently begging me to give them their goal. But I'm not a wimp like him. I stand by my calls. Morgan, stop it. The kid with red hair... Are you serious? Morgan, lay down. The kid with red hair storms up to me. I didn't trip him, he shouts. It was an accident. No goal, I say again. Florian, the coach shouts. What fucking name is that? Don't talk back to the ref. Torian storms off, but Alistair is there to take up where he left off. You're cheating, he says, just like you cheated on that math test. My head nearly spins around at that. What? Alistair shrugs. I didn't say nothing. You'd better watch yourself, I tell him, and he sticks his tongue out at me. That's all he needs to do. I reach into my pocket and pull out the yellow card and show it to him. That's the official first warning. Next comes the red card. Get off me! That's the official. Knock it off. Next comes the red card, and he's thrown off the game. No one ever really uses the yellow or red cards for kids this young, but somehow I feel it's appropriate today. On the sidelines, his coach throws up his hand. You see what you did, Alistair? You see? But Alistair just smirks like it was worth it. Like he can feel me squirming. He marches off, and as he does, I notice his feet leave yellow footprints on the grass. It's not just him, it's the entire red team. I take a deep breath that ends with a shiver and bring the ball out to where Alistair had shot it from. There's no possible way that he could have known about the math test. And it was only one answer. And I did it by accident. I didn't even mean to see Randy Goldman's answer sheet. But I did see the answer to a question I couldn't answer myself. And I did use that answer. It had been bugging me all week because, like I said, I'm all about being fair and doing the right thing. This runt little kid could not have known. And that is part 1 of part 2. And that's it for the story. Until next week for part 2. So, hope you guys enjoyed the story. Can you please get off me, Nonyo? Yeah. Good boy. So, what's up, Christian, Carlos, Jeffro? That was story time with SHAEDEI. Title of the story is Who Do We Appreciate, which is up there. So, that's it. That's part 1 of part 2. And come back next Thursday for part 2 of Who Do We Appreciate. And hope you guys come back for next week. Yeah. Hey, Chelsea. Yeah, I just finished reading part 1 of part 2. It's kind of a long story and stuff, so I gotta divide it. So I was gonna do part 2 tomorrow, but I think I might leave it as a cliffhanger if those are interested in the story. So said if you want part 2, you gotta come back next week. Same time, same day. So but I'm not taking none of the streams down. Shit, Chelsea. I almost didn't wake up. This almost didn't happen. I almost didn't wake up. I fucking fell asleep. But sounds like a creepy story. Of course, it's from a book called Darkness Creeping. And it's a book with a bunch of short stories. Oh yeah. Come back next week for part 2. And we'll finish that part. And whatnot. Hope everyone had a blessed day. And yeah, just go back. Sounds like a weird story as it is. Nunny. Nunny! Hi, puppy! Oh, you such a sweet boy. Don't knock the phone over. Don't knock the phone over. So... I guess I can hop off here for a little bit. I gotta go cook some dinner, and then I can hop back on. And we can just bullshit, have a place to hang out. But I don't want to tie up this stream of story time with just bullshitting. So I'm gonna go fix me some dinner and then come back to see if I'm streaming. And stuff. So I'm not gonna set a set time. I'm just gonna probably hop back up here after I'm done and stuff. So again, hope you guys enjoyed the story. Come back next week, next Thursday, 7 p.m. for part 2 of Who Do We Appreciate. Have a blessed evening and peace.